Yeah. Good to see you.
I don't think I'm usually out the door before that.
Very good. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to call the August 15, 2023 regular Board of Education meeting to order at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Gwen Violet. Here. David Costa.
Here.
Stephanie House. Here. Jennifer Regola. Here. Steve Sebastian. Here. Vishali Shaw. Here. Josie Shattuck. Here. Forum present. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public participation. Members of the audience are encouraged to make comments and ask questions to the board consistent with board policy 2:230. Please identify yourself and limit your presentation to 3 minutes. I see no one wanting to address us, so we will move on to reports. Dr. Bute.
Good evening. Reports are included in the packet. I guess we'll start with any questions from any of the reports from either the building administration, the tech department, or from my report. Even if they're not, you guys can talk about it. So, question?
Mine was on the handbook is down the right on this.
You can. There's gonna be an action item. For sure, it's in that principal's report. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll wait. It's okay.
Okay.
Can you explain one question when looking at this? I don't want to assume I understand what it means, but no cross reference. You got that listed under the use of artificial intelligence
You're looking in the handbook?
in the on the yes,
note.
building administration.
Can I just get, because I wrote it, it generally means there is no other reference in the policy that addresses that. Where you'll see some policies have 5 or 6 cross-references, they overlap a little bit. This one is new and has no cross-reference.
Got it. That's what I thought.
Sure,
Thank you.
of course.
Can you explain the utility thing, what to do, please?
To what?
The savings in utility and what reduction is taking place during peak
Okay.
times.
So for the last several years, I believe it started when Dr. Warner was here, we started farming out our utility away from ComEd to one of the other suppliers. And so over the years, we've reduced our kilowatt per hour rate compared to what the market rate would be. So this shows you what the savings was over the last year in gas and electrical compared to the market rates. Okay. So it was a shade over $57,000 in savings compared to the marketplace, what we utilized here in the district between gas and electric. So the demand, every year we have a curtailment of our power from the grid, and it's actually tomorrow for the summer. They give us a deadline, a window, and we turn off all of our power for an hour or 2 hours, depending on what they're asking for. And it pushes electric back to the grid. It allows us to, we're not in session yet, so it's a way to kind of save the grid some stress, especially if there's going to be demand somewhere else for it. And then they utilize some sort of algorithm from that to calculate what our rates are going to be in the future and gives us additional savings moving forward. That's the best way I can explain it to you.
How often does it happen?
Once or twice per year.
Because I
Usually in
remember,
the summertime.
yeah, I remember at Carrie Grove, like, they would do it at 3 p.m.
So it got all the lights would go shut down
Yeah.
and stuff like 2:30, 2:50, like when the lights off.
And so this particular one, we don't set the time, it's set by CJM Power. So we'll get a notice tomorrow morning that says, it would have between 10 and 5, somewhere in there tomorrow will be our shutdown time. We don't know what time it is yet. We don't shut off everything, we turn off all the power that we can turn off. We'll turn off all the rooftop units, we'll turn off all the lights, we won't turn off the freezers for the food, that will stay on. And maybe I think the backup generator will run based on gas, that'll run, so the emergency lights will stay on, but for the most part, the main power will go off.
But the first half of what you said, so the kilowatt hour,
Oh.
you're comparing it to the market, which is fine, it's kind of more cost avoidance than cost.
Correct, it's cost avoidance, correct.
But so how does that's gonna expire and we're gonna go enter into a new contract with someone who's gonna do solar, gonna give us solar panels.
Mhm.
We're essentially doing the same thing, we're buying kilowatt hours
At a reduced
at
rate.
a reduced, what's that rate that we're in now compared to the projected reduced rate?
I don't have, I have to pull the bill out to tell you what the kilowatt hour rate we're paying now is. I don't have it here tonight. But the solar array is 90% capacity, so we're not going to 100% with it, it's gonna be 90%. We'll still be buying some from the grid. And we'll also be banking some of those, obviously when they're in the summertime, it's gonna generate more with some more sunlight, so we'll bank some hours, bank some time, and we use on cloudy days, just like regular.
What month do we think we'll have like an update on for that it's currently at?
I should know something that by the end of the week, we do have a conference call with them this week still to kind of iron out some of those details.
Okay, thank you.
One other question back on the technology report.
Okay?
Transportation mobile,
Yes.
I know the power's not out there yet. When is that projected?
It was finished last night.
Nice.
And we received occupancy today from the ROE. That inspection went well. Fire alarm was hooked up late last night. Power was finished last night. We are now in data, so they have internet and phones, but it is accessible and usable as of today.
Good.
The comments came in like at 4:30 this afternoon.
Where do we,
Just in time.
where do we sit with staffing as of today?
Are we not quite fully at 100% staff? No. We have some spots still. Yes.
Want me to name one specific?
No, that's okay. We do have 5 or 6 still open
Okay.
spots. Looking for bus drivers,
Any like
paraprofessionals.
grade level teacher openings?
Believe the grade levels are full. Go ahead.
The elementary grade levels are full.
Junior high too. So special education, related services, paraprofessionals, bus drivers. But same as everybody else.
Like, looking at my head, like, we need to start driving buses out there.
See y'all in one?
I know, it's like,
You know, I was looking around at the different.
is there a bus going to pull up that we're gonna start?
I know, we
Race? I know, you're like going down the line, like,
I will just say, last week, Crystal Lake 47 had 70 openings posted still. I mean,
47 did?
47 did, across all buildings and departments, so
probably.
it's still,
10%.
it's an issue.
Yeah.
Probably the same relative percentage for.
Probably.
Worse than a small area. Yeah.
What do we, I'm assuming we're still actively promoting those open positions or the need to fill those positions. Where are we doing that? And other than reposting content or information, is there any other way that?
We have our jobs posted on all of the normal education job sites. People can go, if they're looking for education jobs, they're on those sites.
Social media.
Social media, it's out there, social media. We do have a network of people that we try to reach out to. You have applicants for a job that you didn't hire, maybe interested in working with us, so. So with regard to my reports and things that I do want to talk about, I did my enrollment report as of Wednesday of last week. And obviously we are another, 45 students from the start of this time last year. 863 was the number last Wednesday. I'm not sure up from that yet, what it is. Numbers continue to climb, which is a good thing. That's positive for us. The district is highly desirable. We've had a lot of houses that have turned over in the last couple of years. A lot of those folks that have the house for 15, 16 years, raised their students and moved on, and now turning those over to them, their families. And so we're seeing not just Woodlower with an accomplished increase, but other areas as well. So it is a welcome sight, but it has caused a number of other concerns. And staffing is one of them. Make sure you have staff to handle all those areas. Strategic planning is something that I do want to pick the board's brain about. I know we did one of those several years ago, and over half the board wasn't here when we did that plan back in 2018, 2019, 2020. It is time that we take a look at that and make sure that it is still targeting what we want to target as a school district and board. And so I've given you some options of things to look at. I did have a conversation with Laura Martinez. I know she's already worked at the School Board Association. The type of planning workshop that I'm envisioning for this, they don't offer currently. They're in the process of developing that. So if you wanted to do the similar workshop we did before, which would be a one-night, high-level board only, we could do that again. The cost for that is, $1,000 for a full day, $600 for a half day, relatively inexpensive. The other two options, and leadership solutions in CEC, those are educational organizations that are based in Illinois. They're doing work in the area. Obviously, they're quite a little more expensive. ELS is $10,000. CEC was almost $25,000. I'm not sure if you can go to that extreme, but it's something I want you to think about and consider. We can certainly have another conversation about it in the future, but I don't want to lose sight of that. I do want us to go back and look, at the very least, us as a group going back and looking at that plan and making sure that it's still aligned with what the board's goals are and the values are. And if you do think you might want to do something different, then I would encourage us to look at one of these other groups and putting together the full plan of board, admin, teachers, community, and making sure that the vision, the mission that we have is still the vision and mission that we have as a district, and put together plans to address that over the next few years.
So if I'm understanding, these are the three options, even these half day in the first section here, with the IASB, that can include more than just the board. Or is-
Generally, when the School Board Association does their work, it's board level.
Okay. So
They're
if you
developing
want the
what-
lower ones, if you want to bring in other people, it's one of those other options,
Correct.
the ELS or the CAC.
Well, the full days is a COE.
Plus others.
That, the others would be like Martha, Rachel, Nicole.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Steve, were you here? I feel like there was something, but maybe it was on building.
No, we've done it before.
We've done it before, I've done a couple of them, but I was like, maybe that one where they had meetings, that was all what Steve, the architects, where they
That
were
was buildings.
all the architect stuff.
No, Lauren did one with us. Remember we like had the post-its on the wall?
Yeah, I know, the little one, I remember,
Yeah, we were in the
But we didn't, we weren't, we didn't,
tax room, that one?
we did some, but it was not a strategic planning.
yeah, no,
That was
there
just-
was.
That was just like
That was just like
development or something.
yeah.
I know that Dr. Zimmer ran a workshop and we recruited people from the community and we had, not too many people showed up, but we had, when she kind of did the whole post-it note thing, activities for us. But I can't remember, I feel like Jill Hawk did something for us maybe way back, but I don't know.
Yep, I know that name.
Yeah, she was former superintendent of 155, but I don't know if it was like for strategic planning or was it for superintendent searching or what? And I think there was somewhere back there, yeah, because I've been on, previous to being on the board, that's what I started with strategic planning. So maybe that's another
I mean,
option.
there may be records in the archive. I've not seen them of any of those planning sessions.
I think we should start off with our, a full day session with our administrative team.
Yeah.
With
With
ISB.
the School Board
With school,
Association.
yeah,
The school board association, and then
I
maybe we
know.
can find out from them, like, let's also find out from them, what's their timeline for doing an, like you said, they have something in development.
Yes,
If they have a timeline, then maybe in the spring, we can do something that then extends it to having community members and teachers and staff and other people included. Kind of like do phase one, recap and validate.
See where we wanna go.
I'd be
Yeah.
interested in getting the feedback from 47-155, because it, bottom clip note there says that they recently worked
With that
with
one,
both of them.
yeah.
I just know we have not spent that much money.
No, that,
I don't,
Yeah.
I think $25,000 is a little.
I mean, they're a huge school district with many issues, or like, things to consider.
right.
I mean, we have the same things to consider, but we can maybe find a different way, or another consulting group. We could see a job office, a strategic planning thing. She did it. I don't know. She did superintendent.
Sue Search?
I remember what you're talking about. We developed those belief statements together. That was a lot.
I agree with Kishana, though, starting with the full day session where we can add, the admin and stuff, and I think is a good way to start, and then kind of go.
I will get their availability. It's limited in September. If you want Laura to do it, it's limited. She's got a variety of things in September, so maybe October before that can come into fruition. All right, the other item that I wanted to, we wanted to have a conversation that came up, last thing that did make my report, nothing to report on, was the policy that requires non-resident students to pay tuition. We had this conversation a couple years ago when there were some supply chain issues in the housing market, and there were some houses, our policy currently says if you're in your house by November, there's no tuition for August, September, October. But if you're gonna be out beyond that, December, January, February, before your house is completed, your new house, then there's a tuition payment that starts in November. A couple years ago, we had several families that asked us to waive that because of some supply chain issues. We've had other one request that now.
Because of their house being delayed.
No, they just.
No, I'm saying what prompted that conversation a couple years ago.
Was a delay in the housing market.
Because you couldn't get materials and the house was getting delayed. It was
Yes,
But they were in,
different circumstance.
but they were in by January 1.
all those folks were in by January, correct?
And you said they just signed the contract now.
In like June.
So a couple of years ago, it was from matters that delayed the house that was out of anyone's control.
Correct.
Not, that's just a little,
That's correct.
right? I'm just saying it's apples and oranges.
Yeah,
Apples and oranges, yes.
Those were commonplace circumstances at the time. So this feels slightly different in that way.
It does feel something different. Again, as a board policy, it's only the board can violate their own policy or change the policy, and I can't do that on their behalf, so they requested us to look at that. We have no action item on that, but I didn't know if you wanted to have a conversation about it.
Doesn't seem like something that would create a pattern. It's one family, I guess, there's not multiple families reaching out.
Yes, we only have the one.
They've got a signed building
Mhm.
agreement, which
But it could
to me
take
displays
But
an
that's
intent. I think the only, which is the timeline.
could be the whole school year. Because if you have a
I don't-
broken ground,
I don't know, if you sign in June, what's the delivery time expected on the home? Do we know when the moving?
I believe it was January was what was indicated to us.
In the note, they indicated January, but they haven't even broken ground yet.
The last time I was through there, they had not done it.
But the previous time we did it, they had already, their houses were like built, like
In development.
in development already, like already to, yeah.
Correct.
Or then they were in by January 1st
They just couldn't get the supplies fast enough.
to finish, yeah.
Yeah, I think I just have a little concern that it would open us up to
That's my opinion.
more, individual cases to be analyzed in the future. But I certainly understand the predicament. Yeah, that's essentially my primary concern.
Personally, if we've got a family that's gonna be moving into our district, I would like to think of them as part of our family and us be the ones impacting their education. I the risk is not lost on me relative to what happens if the closing doesn't come to fruition. Right, then what do we do, how do we handle that as a board from that point moving forward? I'm assuming multiple students.
So they'd be paying for both those,
Correct.
the tuition would be for the two.
Correct.
And what's that number again?
It's just shy of $4,000 for the two of them per month.
That's,
And where do we get that number, if you don't mind me asking?
So every year there's an audit. Ours starts next week. They audit previous year's books. And one of the calculations they have in there is the operating cost per pupil. And that calculation leads to the tuition cost. Then if someone wants to pay tuition to come in, there's a calculation in the audit for that.
I just think that is a astronomical amount to ask of a family considering inflation. I know that it's changed a bit in recent months. You know, they're building here, they're planning to raise a family here. I don't foresee a floodgate opening circumstance, and if that happens, we address it then.
And I see like all these different, like.
I know, my brain, sorry, my brain.
I don't even want, I don't know, like, I see that,
Yeah.
and then I see like, oh, the other person that's like, I'm paying taxes, and my tax money is being used to pay for my school, and there is an alternative, like, you can go to the school that you're supposed to, you know, like, living in, and it means that you're gonna get disrupted whenever you move, when you finish up one school year, and then you have to move, which I personally have done. I lived in one town, and then when we moved, the house was ready, I would go to the next school. But I don't like that for children, but I don't also, I mean, I see it from another taxpayer perspective, like, I pay taxes for this. And if you're not paying taxes, you're paying tuition, but I don't wanna put a financial burden on anybody, if something gets lost.
Could we modify the amount, or is that something set?
You cannot modify that without, there's a waiver to
Okay.
change tuition, a process for that.
And that is, I know that, but I didn't know if there were individual circumstances, no.
Are we privy to know if these new, community members are paying impact fees as well? Because typically when
Housing
you,
development.
There are impact fees in Woodlower. They are reduced impact fees from what they were years ago.
Sure.
I don't know what their particular impact fees are, I have no idea.
And that's paid by the builder, right? The impact fee.
It's passed on to the homeowner, yeah.
yeah, when we moved 4 years ago, it was about $13,000 out of pocket.
It is not that much money, but it is not that.
It,
Because that's in the city of Crystal Lake.
no, we're in the county,
I know, but that,
Compared to
even
even
that
there,
is
it's
Crystal
Crystal
Lake,
Lake,
has been
yeah.
reduced.
okay.
A lot, they just reduced that, like,
Yeah, a few years ago, they reduced
Yeah.
that, really far.
for Crystal Lake,
Crystal Lake.
not for you guys, where you're at, I know where you're at.
Yeah.
So,
Then,
The school starts next week.
It does.
yeah.
Or it starts tomorrow for Crystal Lake, right?
It does. It's actually-
What does the policy state exactly right now on this?
That they have to be in by November the 1st to avoid tuition. If they're not gonna be in on November the 1st, they start paying tuition in November.
And the policy was previously January?
No, it was always November
It was
the
always
1st.
November, okay.
Can we make it say January? Is that something that we can change?
You can change policy.
But we don't know that would help.
We waited a couple years ago by 2 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
From
what I-
November 1 to
that's what we
January
did
1.
that in the previous.
Which to me didn't feel like a big deal, we
That's
were
what
just
Right.
delaying
Like a
the
grace
date.
period.
Yeah, but all those people have broken ground, there were quite a few, that are
Already
being
built,
affected.
basically.
They were truly under construction. But the cost of this tuition is,
So why can't you wait another 2 months again?
You can.
That's what I was
modify
saying,
policy.
that's the other thing I was gonna bring up, is like, I'd be fine saying, if you're in by January 1, fine, like we did last time, that's what we did last time. If it's, you said you were gonna be in by January 1, that's what she said in her email too.
Mhm.
So that's where I figured I'd be good,
And if it gets delayed, then they owe,
then they start paying tuition.
they're paying
From,
tuition.
from that point on or back in November?
No, from
No,
that.
that
Point on.
So instead of the November date, we'll change it to January 1st date.
That's
So
exactly,
they would back pay from January first, if they go past January first?
it would start paying like
Start paying.
January.
Yeah, not November.
Yeah, November, they would start paying.
Through the school.
Okay. I feel like that's fair.
Chances are.
I think that's what we did last time,
It
I
was.
think if we're gonna do this, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you know, it's a little different because like I said, they haven't even started building yet, but I would say it's the same in the sense of like, yeah. It's what we did last time.
So then let me ask this question, this will be the second time now that you've considered modifying policy, do you want to change the policy in the future to move it to January 1st?
Yes.
So we can draft that, change the policy and put it up next month for approval.
And yeah,
I mean, we do have a fair amount of new construction happening, so, I don't know, that kind of makes sense to me.
Currently, there's 15 to 20 houses in various levels of construction every day.
everything.
Yeah.
Why was it November, why was it November previously? Was there any,
Oh, that's an artery.
it was an arbitrary point in time?
We figured maybe you missed, like, if you started in January, by November, 9 months to build, 10 months to build a house, but.
Now with everything.
I didn't know if there was like a tax break, like influence
Yeah.
there somehow
Okay.
in determining the date.
Yeah, let's change the policy, I feel like everybody's in agreement, this would be a happier medium, I mean, you know, to delay it to January 1st.
So we'll have that on next month's agenda then for the policy change.
Sounds good.
Now, what happens with this family, since they're starting school?
We'll reach out, notify them,
Okay.
Then they have to make a decision, yeah.
and then have to make a decision, either start school somewhere else, wait to come in, or
For starting.
And if you start somewhere else and you move, I believe you're allowed to finish the school year at the school you started, so you don't have to like leave the
Leave it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you may not get bus and or transportation.
you won't get
You
those
won't.
transportation.
Yeah,
I think their out-of-pocket risk is substantially lower.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a huge thing, so even if it pushes by a month, that's 1 month that they would have, so I think that's fair.
Is that it for that area? We're moving on to old business.
I don't know if it's a new business topic, but I don't want to forget to ask about the email about planning and zoning that you sent us.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I want now.
Let's do that now, let's do that now, yes. So I emailed about the letter I received about the planning and zoning for the change for the property next to us. And as I know our folks know, and maybe the audience, the district office moved this summer from the building to an office over the corner where the Gianelli's restaurant is, in that little strip mall there. And so we received a notification as a entity that neighbors that they're asking for some modifications to their permit usage in that site. And the one that I think probably troubles the most is that they want to sell alcohol at the restaurant. My understanding is they are trying to sell that location, and then you have a buyer, and that buyer wants to then make some changes, I believe they're keeping the restaurant and adding gaming and alcohol to their repertoire. The hearing for that, for the planning and zoning is the 29th of August. It is legal, you can have that establishment there, it's not illegal to have that close to the school.
I thought there was a distance requirement.
If that's your primary occupation and business, then I believe there is, but since the restaurant is still the primary, and they also serve alcohol with it, it's not a violation of the law, is my understanding.
I don't know it off the top of my head. I remember I sat on that board years ago and we adjusted the dispensary, whatever policy for the board. I remember talking about the alcohol, but the current, and I just don't remember what it is at what point. I'm sure it'll come up again in the conversation, but
I'm sure it will.
I thought there was a certain distance.
Is it the existing restaurant?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. reason I thought they were serving alcohol.
No.
So they wanted to serve alcohol and
Who
then
the new owner wants to.
somebody new is going in.
And then some other, one of those empty places, they wanna turn into a slot
Well,
place.
the car, I'm saying,
They wanna turn into a slot machine place.
that'd be the same place, so that, they would have gaming machines in the restaurant.
That's why.
Correct.
We have two
I'm
on
assuming
that
it's like
third
that
one
video.
right on the corner there, and now
Gaming, like,
Yes.
oh, that,
it's different.
Yes.
It's all electronic.
It's all,
It's all
it's
gambling.
okay.
gamble.
Yes. That's my understanding.
Want that stuff. But then like our district office is there, so does that like, we're just leasing, we don't own it, so.
No, we're just releasing it for temporary, so
I mean, what do we have grounds to really,
we can go and
you could
state
just state
our
who you
wishes.
want, yeah.
Yes or no, and zoning committee will make a decision on whether they choose to listen or not.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, cause I do remember way back, the original owners of that land, who came in with a proposal on a napkin, wanted to buy our land, that's that retention area that we're making, they wanted that, and we talked about, no way, because we didn't want any shady businesses coming up close to ours building, so that was like, at least that was coming in the numbers that you're talking about distance wise, so we didn't sell that land. But it was.
Just a note about that, the Illinois statute is no license shall be issued for the sale of liquor within 100 feet of any church, school, hospital. So given that our district office is
Next door.
District office is not the school.
Not
No, but
But it's
our
the
property line's
school.
there.
Oh, our property line ends up being like right next to
Right
it,
next
even though our building is this far. our
Could you teach a
property-
class in there once a week?
Could have home
Sure,
ec in there.
I mean, we could.
Throwing necklaces or something?
Meaning 101,
No, the district property, not their own.
not this off, yeah,
It's the back of the curb line, the parking lot.
so it's right there.
I'm
So
kind of,
that is-
that, we
that-
talked about this years ago at the village, about that particular piece of property, how nothing could be allowed there. And so, I mean, this isn't like a new conversation, I'm not sure anyone's gonna remember me, but we did talk about.
Are you free on the 29th?
I know, I'm on that.
So,
Oh, you'll be there.
I have been for a long time, it's
You
what I
just
mean.
go through.
No, that's what I'm saying, we've had this conversation, and that board has had this conversation
Before,
in the past.
Oh.
I didn't realize you were
We
still
were
on.
I didn't know you were-
we were talking about a dispensary at the time, but the
Gotcha.
tobacco and alcohol conversation came up, and I remember that piece of property being deemed as like, well, nothing could ever go here because it's too close to the school property.
Okay,
And I would guess the
same
conversation is a little
thing,
the same, yeah.
Yeah, cause it's not the building, it's the property, and that's less than 100 feet, it's zero.
yeah, I mean, that was my concern when he sent the emails, just the alcohol, like, right, so. Well, yeah,
It's all
it's all bad, yeah.
The other business, I don't think there's anything you can do about it, because it's its own commercial use.
The motorcycle thing?
I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that it was a car wash doesn't matter, it's.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any.
No.
It's commercial use, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No? I will move on to old business. May I have a motion to approve the second reading and adoption of board policy press 112, additions, deletions, and changes?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Is there anything that you wanted to highlight about these four policies, Dr. Beal? It is reviewed by our legal. Okay. Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Oh, boy. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023-18, providing for the issue of not to exceed $13 million general obligation school bonds, alternative revenue source of the district for the purpose of building and equipping additions
to and altering, repairing, and equipping existing school buildings of the district, providing for the pledge of certain revenues for payment of principal and interest on said bonds and the levy of the district annual tax sufficient to pay such principal and interest if the pledged revenues are insufficient to make such payment, and authorizing the proposed sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion, Dr. Beat.
So this would be the third month now we've had the conversation about the alternate revenue bonds. We've gone through all the steps. Had a hearing last month. This is the final resolution that would authorize the potential sale of the bonds. I can tell you that we had a ratings call on last week. Our overall outlook has been improved. We're now at AA by S&P, which is a positive, so that should lower our costs on the bonds. We have a very good, strong credit rating. Again, the revenues from this will be used for the next phase of construction, which would be an addition on the end of the 4th grade wing. Also the drive onto Valley View and that extra parking lot coming off that direction. And to obviously to make it look like everything else looks around here. So we've done a lot of work in the past couple of years to make this facility top notch. And this will be the next and one of the final pieces to the master plan that we started a few years ago.
Were we gonna see new plan, like once this goes through and everything like
Next
that?
month, so it'll be the next month, yes, we have meetings also tomorrow to talk about how that update, how it's done.
Did, like, based off of last month's meeting, and I know you gave us some data about the classroom sizes and stuff, and you guys were looking at possibly other ideas about a more lean approach to building, is that a discussion?
That's why he's not here tonight with the updates, because they're revising some of those plans, correct?
Okay, so that's big.
Yes. Correct.
So even though we're approving 13 million, it doesn't say we're spending.
That is correct.
It's
That's
like a
correct.
checkbook that's there, we don't pay interest on that money, and only on the ones that we withdraw, or do we pay it all? Use for.
You authorize the bonds will be sold, and yes, there's a payment schedule for those, and you will pay interest. Money will sit in our account until we use it, also making interest, okay? And then once the plans get approved and it goes to bid, because it's a bid project, public school works are a bid project. Once that comes in, you'll have another opportunity then to say yes or no to the bids. And if you reject the bids, the money can be repaid. And if you accept some or all, then we'll use that money for the construction of whatever it is that it's approved.
So there's still not that much risk.
Your risk here is that you will be on the hook for some points and some interest once you buy the bonds, correct? That I can't avoid.
What's the balance of the interest that we then pay versus the interest that we're receiving once we pull the bonds and they sit in our account?
We will lose, we don't make enough interest,
Yeah.
even though rates are up, we're still not going to make enough to cover our cost of the interest.
Is there a percentage rate or is it
It
going
will
to
be
change?
established when the bonds are sold.
Yeah,
Sure you make 1%, maybe 7.
We're gonna be paying in the 4 range for this money, not
That's
7.
not bad.
No.
And that went down because of our AA status.
Correct.
And so after this approval, if we approve today, then next month will we get a presentation from our architecture
You will,
firm
that's correct,
with all of the possibilities
yes.
and a high just ballpark costing or no costing with that?
Yes, we'll have costing, ICI Loop does the costing, the construction company. And the way the plan that's structured is, we will offer the base package, which is the addition and the road, and then we'll have alternates. And those alternates then could push it up to 13 or above, you'll have a choice to say yes or no on alternates, but be 2 or 3 different choices.
And
Do they have a target that they're trying to go for?
What's that?
Do they have a target base bid, so then they know what to break out? So, for example, like, we want to spend maybe $8 million, so, the whole job's 13, find 5 million to break out as alternates, so then we have kind of that menu that we'll decide.
That is the plan, yes.
Oh,
The main
what's that?
structure,
Well, that's it,
our
what's
main
the main
structure, I'm expecting to be in the 8.2 range. We did the last structure at 7.3. I'm expecting this one, which is about the same size, a couple years cost difference, to be about 8.2. That's what I'm expecting.
But do they have that target number?
Do they know that number? Yeah.
The board wants to do so many classrooms, they want it to be around $8 million.
Or less, or.
No, I'm just saying, I'm saying a target number as like a base number. And then we can start to have a menu of pulling things out, whether it's scope or value engineering of materials. We can kind of have that menu and say, all right, we're gonna pick, whatever, 9 classrooms for $8 million, and we're gonna add in, premium flooring or, whatever, and then we're gonna add in the parking lot, or we're not gonna do that. I got the menu of options, not just 1 or 2 alternates, but maybe 5 or 6 things.
That's a little tougher to do in a publicly bid job. Okay, if it was a private company doing that, you have more flexibility. Okay, because we're a public entity, we have to publish what we expect to do. There can be alternates in that, but if you want to add scope and take scope away, that might have to be redid.
I guess our primary goal, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is to add classrooms.
Correct.
We want the classroom space, so
Yes.
in my mind, like everything else should almost be an alternate, because we might just feel comfortable adding a class, whatever classroom.
And not use a road.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about that.
Right.
So that's, I think, already known.
Right now, the known alternates include the road, the bus parking lot, renovation of the rest of the elementary classrooms, alternates of another restroom that needs to be renovated. Those are all the alternates right now that we have after the structure of the addition.
And he can't have like those things, like an idea of cost for those things.
Yes,
Could
we
he
have
that?
an idea of cost of each one of those things, what we expect it to
I
be,
think that,
but
is
you won't
that
know what it is
basically
until
what
it
you're
actually
asking?
goes to bid.
Okay, yeah, no, just like
Just
an
an
idea, I
itemized-
guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Itemized estimation of budget.
Yeah, not exact, but at least an idea, so we can then kind of.
Correct.
Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions?
No, so it looks like the parameters in the resolution are basically what we discussed last month,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And this does not increase taxes?
Correct. Our expectation is that we'll be using adjusted reserves and the evidence-based funding that we receive from the state to pay off bonds.
And we have enough to do that, like, financially, there's.
We are in a position right now that these bonds should be within our wheelhouse of being able to pay. I can't predict the future, what's gonna happen 5 years from now, but yes, that's correct.
Can you explain the evidence-based funds that are coming from the state?
Yes, so several years ago, the state changed their funding mechanisms from rears in the seats, butts in the seats, which was general state aid. Every student that was there, X number of dollars. It's still kind of based on that, but they also add in factors of special needs, different categories. And so we receive $725,000 a year in funding from the state. Okay? And right now, we have pledged those funds to help pay off the debt. Rather than asking taxpayers to put a higher rate on their taxes, we're using the state money and then extra reserves that we have to pay off those notes. So I got the numbers yesterday. Today, this year, we're gonna get $717,000 and change from the state and evidence-based funding. And that money will all be diverted to pay bonds.
And just to clarify, we have a policy about minimum amount of district reserves on hand.
Correct.
This does not get anywhere close to that, or this does not put us close to that amount. Based on,
Not in the immediate future.
If
Right now, we're
you
about
share-
210 days cash on hand. Our policy is 60.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then, roll call vote, please.
Gwen Violet,
Yes.
David Costa,
Yes.
Stephanie Hausch,
Yes.
Jennifer Regola,
Yes.
Steve Sebastian,
Yes.
Josie Shattuck,
Yes.
Kashali Shaw,
Yes.
motion carried.
May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes regular executive session minutes from July 18th, bills payable, treasurer's report, and current student handbook 2023-2024.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Anybody want to say anything more about the handbook or?
No, not necessarily, anything you want to say?
Most of the updates are suggested to us through the Illinois Principal Association, so that's, if they look a little abnormal for an update for a handbook, those are presented to us through them, so that's suggestions, but adopted by most school districts.
We subscribe to the Illinois Principals Association, which comes out with a model student handbook every year and recommended updates based on press policy. And like Nicole said, it highly recommend that you adopt them. We haven't shared the staff handbook or the parent student handbook yet with the families. We anticipate doing that early next week.
And how does that go out?
Usually in a principal's update, a weekly update. It'll be
Does everyone have to sign on it, or?
No, we used to do it that way. It's more of a passive consent. You know, we ask that everyone please take time to read the handbook and talk about it with your children. And of course, if they have any questions, they can reach out to us, but we don't have a sign off that they looked at it or read it.
I thought it was in Skyward, but never mind.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't think it is, but I'm wondering if
Maybe
it
it's not.
could be.
Huh? It used to be. Yeah, it used to be in that Skyward where you would have this.
Check a box.
Check a box, right, or somewhere I thought I saw it. They used to turn in forms. Actually.
Yeah, they did. I remember that now, yeah.
Just in the past, maybe it's because of the sign off, you know, if a discipline thing comes up later in the year, sometimes it's referred back to, well, that was in the handbook and we signed off on it, and then we've had the conversation of how did that go out at the beginning of the year, did we not make enough emphasis on it, that's why I was bringing it up.
And yeah, I guess Steve, are you thinking that we should have something more,
No, had not seen it yet.
Yeah.
I didn't register my kids, so I don't know, maybe it was there.
For this year, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, it hasn't gone out yet to the parents.
my wife, they're registered, I didn't do it, I was like, well, I didn't see it, so I was just wondering, the communication. I was just wondering what it went out, you answered my question when you said it hadn't come out yet.
I feel like, I don't know, it's up to you guys, but it would be bring better awareness to the rules and policies, and if there was some kind of collection of signatures, and a highlight overview to kind of say, here's like some of the highlights, and these are
We
also.
can do that.
Okay.
We highlight what changed from last year to this year, so that if somebody wants to just do it bird's eye view, they can look and see the changes that were made from year to year. We did that,
Those
big
highlights
recommendation.
here, those are, I didn't know if those were just for the board.
No, it's for the public too, yeah.
I mean, like some just like, even a basic Google form, like something like that, just to say, sign off, read it, we know, and then the highlights with it would hopefully.
And then what if they don't, that was my other question.
But that- yeah.
That was gonna be my other question,
Is there a-
what happens when you
Parent
don't?
student handbook police,
yeah, I mean,
Steve, you wanna be a student handbook police?
Yeah, I think
No,
that's probably why we took it out.
That was
I
my
think
second,
that's
that was
fine.
my second question,
Yeah.
walking in here, is what happens if they don't sign it?
yeah, you're not gonna allow it
To
to.
chase them?
Fine fees.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think as a parent, when you enroll your child in school, there's just a certain amount of responsibility to adhere to the handbook. Whether or not you sign something.
Yeah.
Like I'm enrolling and registering my child to attend this school, I have to adhere by the rules of the school. But yeah, I guess maybe it's not for everyone.
There has to be a way to collect electronic acknowledgement,
Correct.
electronic receipt,
It's
which
much
should
easier.
be fairly simple to put in place. Now, whether or not somebody actually goes to that link and clicks the button and says, yes, I agree to this, we will never be able to prevent them from, or ensure that everybody does that, but then there should be a clause in there that by.
No, that's
If you
not true. You can actually make it a part of, if you want to register, you have to accept.
Yeah,
then
because I
I
know,
say we we look at doing that and do electronic.
next year.
Electronic acknowledgement
Yeah.
of.
But the discipline thing that I was talking about years ago, there was a signature, it was signed off, it was just a bad answer to say, well, it was in the handbook, and you check the box, like, I think I would rather more not collect the check, but overemphasize the communication as much as we can up front, just so everyone knows it's out there.
I think best practice is we need to do both.
Well, I was just gonna say
Right.
do both, I mean, I don't think it's.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, nobody wants to ever be in a situation where you're pointing back, you're like, oh, you agreed to the handbook. But
That's what the
if we
situation
don't
has
have
been.
it,
Yeah.
Well, and
Well,
they're
if
not
we
gonna
don't
read
have
it
the
in its
ability to
entirety.
go back and
No.
say-
Pointing out the differences year to year, I think is huge. And, you know. Yeah, expecting anything beyond that is.
Well, we couldn't do it this year, do Skylar, because
No.
everyone's already registered.
Yeah.
Right.
Next year.
Next month, you can do it next month.
Oh, we could.
Sure, we can always have time, you can always have formal time.
Oh, okay, well, we can, why don't we talk about it? Yeah,
We can talk about it after someone expects that special.
okay.
Not around. Okay, so then that was, any other discussion? Please.
You guys saw, we updated the address.
Oh, that's what we
Property.
The district office.
Okay.
Yes, it's on page two.
So do I go roll call? Yeah. Can I have roll call vote? David Costa? We're approving consent agenda, which includes the parent student.
Oh,
Correct.
I was
okay.
like, that's what.
Yes.
Stephanie House,
Yes.
Jennifer Regola, yes. Steve Sebastian,
Yes.
Josie Shattuck,
Yes.
Gwen Violet,
Yes.
Michelle Shaw.
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the updated threat assessment protocols and team members?
So,
Discussion? Dr. Beach?
So, a couple years ago, Public Acts changed how we do our business, and every year prior to the start of the school, we're supposed to update the ROE with our threat assessment, either for us, the police, if there's a threat, somebody who's in trouble, we have these teams. And we sit down, we have conversations, we make sure that they're, for example, if someone makes a threat to burn the school down, okay, that's a threat. And so we have a team that assesses whether that's a credible threat, we need to provide an intervention to that student, other than the student consequences, there's other help that child needs. And so there are teams that go through that process. There's a building level team and a district level team. And we're required to, we can make changes to that, update our team. We've had some changes in our team from last year, this year. Required to update that at this level, and also if the ROE, you say yes.
Okay.
We are changing our team. Last year, we had a team for both the elementary and the junior high. Now it's one combined team. We don't meet that often, and there's one building level team and one district level team.
Any other questions? Okay, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nope. Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023-19 authorizing combination and consolidation of parcels of real property.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So a year ago or so, we started having conversations with the county regarding our septic system and septic fields here. They have come back with us now over the last few months and said that they didn't like our plans for our deactivating the septic that's behind the library, where the old trailer was, and moving that connection to the current existing septic field behind the junior high. We needed a backup septic field, which was fine. You can create plans for a backup septic field. Unfortunately, the place where we want to put that is on a different parcel of land than the school is. We have 6 parcels of land, 6 different PIN numbers for the school property. Okay? And they didn't like that. They said, what if the board decides to sell off one of those parcels of land, including where your septic is? That'd be fine. So their suggestion to us was from the architects was just take all the 60-year pins and do a consolidation, put them all under one plat of survey, one pin number. Therefore, you would have all the areas that you might want to put a civic field on the property where your school is.
Is there a downside to doing all
Yeah.
6
Like
versus
if you have to
just
sell?
the
Or you can sell any of the land.
can't predict the future?
Yeah.
Is there a financial impact in terms of taxes? Because don't we use the pins in terms of,
You don't pay taxes on your property.
okay.
You're exempt.
Wait, but like,
Don't, the farmland currently, the Hacker farmland pays rent back to us that equals the amount of the taxes. That will probably cease to exist. However, I think if you're going to build on that land starting next year, that contract is going to cease to exist anyway.
Right, if we're building on that, but I guess what I don't know is which of these parcels, is there a parcel that's way out there that it's would ever have a chance of being sold? And then if we have to sell it or wanna sell it, we have to go and separate that out.
The piece of the parcel that is the farthest away, this corner back here, that is the parcel where the septic's gonna go, that's the farthest one away, so.
So there's not really a
so it's not
downside.
really,
The other ones are, like, we have 3 right here, the parcel between us and the kennel is a very small, narrow one, you're not gonna get rid of that. You have where the main site is, you have right next door on the other side, you're not gonna get rid of that either. And then you have 2 large ones in the back of the farmland, you're not gonna, that's gonna be the second, its future second plan would be, you're not gonna get rid of that, so.
yeah, I guess
And
that
then
was
the
another one.
The other parcel would be where we're trying to build a road to come in and the
Correct.
rest. So that was the one that way back we thought about trying to sell or get some other developer, do something with it. But now if we move and build that way.
I can't, I'd have a hard time foreseeing a time where you're going to, if you do the next building project, which you're never gonna sell off any of the land, you're gonna be utilizing it. From the access road to the solar array to the future septic, so I can't see you eliminating those.
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Jennifer Regola?
Yes.
Steve Sebastian?
Yes.
Josie Shattuck?
Yes.
Gwen Violet?
Yes.
David Costa?
Yes,
Stephanie Housh?
Yes,
Kashali Shaw?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn at 7:56 p.m.
so
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Yes.
and then we'll meet the teacher. So they bring it from that 12 to 2.
You're right, yeah.
No.
Bye, Joan, thanks.